So we need the assets. Okay, I have over here in the assets folder. I will have a link in the description. You can go ahead and check them out. Okay, so select the spreadsheet and go over to inspector in the right. Oh, and click on this sprite editor. So you will get sprite editor. As you can see, we have multiple sprites, so we need to select single mode to multiple in the sprite mode and choose pixel per unit to a less number, something like 16. Okay, and if you take a close look, it seems like blurry. So to get rid of that, we need to select filter mode to point, no filter. Okay, and after doing all of this thing, click on apply in the bottom. Okay, and we need to cut them off individually. To cut them off individually, in the top left you can see slice, so click on that and select automatic to grid by cell count in the top. Okay, and count how many columns and rows it has one row, as you can see, and I guess 8 columns. Okay, so let's put 8 columns and one row. So click on slice, and after slicing it, click on apply in the top right. Okay, now it's cut it off individually. I'm gonna select this KMBU one more time, and I have over here. Okay, so what we need to create the health bar. Okay, to create the health bar, I'm gonna delete this thing from now. So go to hierarchy first, right click, then go to UI, then select this canvas, because we need to place our UI element into this canvas. Okay, health bar is a UI element, so that's why. So select the canvas first and go over to inspector. In the bottom you can see canvas scaler. There says that UI scale mode. Okay, select constant pixel size to scale with screen size, and choose resolution in the X something like 1920, in the Y something like 1080. Okay, 1080, and we are done. So we need to and select the canvas if to focus on. As you can see, we have the canvas, and we need to place all the UI elements over here. Okay, so right click on canvas, then go to UI, and that is select this slider. Okay, slider, let's resize this slider. So select the rect tool and hold down alt on your keyboard. As you can see, it's resizing from the center. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to slider, and I'm gonna delete this handle side area. Okay, handle side area, delete that. And if we go to slider, okay, and in slider component, uncheck this interactable. Okay, and transition to say none. Okay, transition to none, and navigation to select none. And we have over here in the bottom, as you can see, when I increase it, the white bar just going up. Okay, as you can see, and you can change the color. I can change the background color of this, something like going to background, and I'm gonna shrink it down to black, something like this. And in the bottom you can see a channel, basically alpha. Let's shrink it down, something like this, to make it a transparent little bit. Shrink it down, something like this. Okay, so it's pretty fine. Okay, and you can choose fill area, okay, of this color. I'm gonna match up, so I'm gonna select this fill area and match up something like this. Okay, so this is the background. Fill color a little up. Okay, so just play around with this and you are good to go. Okay, I'm gonna you can also choose a different color for fill color. Okay, I'm gonna choose something like red or green, I guess, something like this color. It's pretty fine. And let's go to slider one more time, and let's rename this slider to something like health slider. Okay, health slider, sorry, health slider. And let's increase it the bar. Okay, something like this. So we need a reference of this health slider, then we can change the value over here. Okay, something like this. And you can tick this whole number. Basically whole number will be 1 2 3 4. It will not be decimal places like a point 0.5, point 0.4 or 1.2, something like that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a script. Before it, what we want to do, we want to create a heart over here. So that's why we cut it off individually. So what we need, right click on health slider. Okay, right click on health slider, then go to UI, then select this image. Okay, select this image and go to image component and source image. It says none. So what I'm gonna do, let's select one of the click on this arrow and select one of the sprite of heart, and let's drag that in there. So as you can see, it's set it up. So in the go to bottom and click on this set native size. Okay, and what I'm gonna do, let's call this image to heart instead. Sorry, heart. Okay, and click on this rect transform. Okay, click on this rect transform, hold down alt on your keyboard and select this one. Okay, so it will be always stay right there. If I try to shrink it down my screen as an expand, you can see the heart just adjusting itself from that position. Okay, let's resize this heart. So I'm gonna drag it a little bit up over here. Let's resize it. So select the heart and go to inspector, increase this value width. So I'm gonna select 200 in the width, heart 200 in the width, something like this, I guess. Something like this. Just play around and you are good to go. Something like this. Okay, it's pretty fine. Okay, sorry, I spell it wrong. Heart, it's not heart, it should be heart. I'm really sorry for it. Okay, heart. And I'm gonna move this up a little bit. So let's create a script. So if you take a close look, over here it's not filling. So what we will do, we will select this fill color. Okay, fill color, select the fill area first, then fill color, and let's drag it over here, something like this. Let's drag the fill area, I guess, something like this. Okay, so it's now pretty fine. And you should make a prefab of this game object. Okay, so select the game object, basically health slider, and drag it to assets. Now it's turned it out prefab. I'm gonna scroll this, scroll your mouse so it will be zoom in and out. So let's create a health slider script. Okay, so go to assets first, right click, create sysop script, and let's call this one to slider slider or something like that. Okay, and hit enter and double click that to open up in Visual Studio. Okay, double click that to open up in Studio. It will take a while, I guess. So double click that to open up in Visual Studio, and it will compile for a second. Okay, sorry, it will complete the get reference of this health slider. Okay, basically if I select the health slider and go to inspector, over there in the bottom you can see value. If I set the this max value, we need to set the max value, something like, let's set it to 10. Okay, and we can increase one by one. I checked whole numbers, check it. Okay, we will deal with whole numbers, not floating in this tutorial. Okay, so we can shrink it down. So we need this reference of this health slider. So let's go to script. Okay, so by default we have start and update function. Okay, so what we will do, we will replace these two namespace from the top. We don't need it. Instead we will use this namespace using unity engine. Okay, unity engine dot ui. Okay, dot ui, and close that off with semicolon. Because why we using this namespace, because we need this reference of this health slider, and we know health slider is a UI element, so that's why we have to include this using unity engine dot ui. Okay, So let's create a slider for that health part. Okay, and let's make it public so we can set through inspector. Let's That is a slider component. Okay, slider, let's call this something like health slider health slider, and close that off with semicolon. Control S to save your code. Let's move to Unity, and you're gonna able to see underneath of so we also need to attach this script to any game object from hierarchy on a hierarchy, or you can just attach this script to health slider game object as well. It's up to you. Okay, so wait for to compile. When it's done, do the thing. So just wait, and we are good to go. So let's drag this script. So select the script and drag it to add component section of health slider. Okay, so as you can see in health slider script, health slider component has been popped up which says none, which is empty. So what we will do, we will drag itself, basically this health slider, to health slider field. Now we have the link up of this health slider. Now we can change the value of this max value, any value we like. Okay, so let's go to script one more time. Okay, and what we will do, we will make a max health. Okay, max health. So let's make it public so we can adjust through inspector. That will be integer like 1 2 3 4, and we will call it something like max health, and by default you can set any value you like. I'm gonna set it to something like 5. Okay, 5, and close that off with semicolon. We're gonna go over to a start function. We know a start function get called when the game start. So in the start of the game, I'm gonna set this health slider. Okay, health slider dot max value equal to max health. Okay, max health, and close that off with semicolon. Basically what we're doing, we're going to health slider, then max value, accessing the max value, and we're setting to max health, which is 5. As you can see, basically we just going over to this health slider. Okay, slider, then moving over to this max value, and we're setting that to max health, and max health we set which is 5. So this one will be over here 5. Okay, 5. And what we will do, we will take damage. We will make a function for taking damage. Okay, so we will go to bottom, and we will make public void. It doesn't need to be public. I'm just making it public for explanation. You can call this function anywhere you want, then you should make marked as public. Okay, public void, let's call it take damage. Okay, take damage, make first some first bracket and some curly brackets. So what we want to do in this function, we want to subtract from our max health. Okay, so max health, okay, max health minus equal 1, and close that off with semicolon. Basically whenever we call this function, it will subtract from our max health by this amount minus equal 1. So let's suppose we call this one for the first time. Okay, max health we have 5. So 5 is this one 5 minus 1 will be 4. So the max health will go to 4. Okay, so eventually it will down to 0, and let's suppose max health is already 0, and 0 minus 1, which will be minus 1, so it will go to negative value. We don't want that. Health should not be a negative value. Okay, so we will check before we subtract from our max health. We need to check if the max health is already 0 or not. Okay, so we will do if max health. Okay, if max health, if it's lesser than, okay, lesser than or equal to 0, means max health is already 0. If that is the case, make some curly brackets, and what we want to do, we want to type return. Basically after return it will not run. Okay, it will not subtract from our max health anymore when the max health is already 0. As you can see, we type it return, and after return whatever you write or whatever line of code you put, it's not gonna be called or not gonna be execute. Okay, so we also need to call this function. Okay, we also need to call this function. So when we should call this function, uh we should let's I'm gonna test for left space key. Okay, when I try to try to press space key, I'm gonna call this function. And what this function will do, firstly it will check if the max health is already 0 or not. If it's not, so it will subtract from our max health by 1 unit. Okay, so let's call that function. So if input dot, okay, dot get key, sorry, get key down, okay, and in brackets we will pass key code dot space, okay, and make some curly brackets, and we will call this take damage function. Okay, take damage, make some brackets and close that off with semicolon, control s to save your code. Okay, so when we press left mouse so a space key, as you can see, input dot get key down, key code dot space, basically we hold pressing space key. If that is the case, we calling this take damage function. And we know what take damage function is doing. It just firstly checking if the max health is already 0 or not. If it's not, we subtracting from our max health by 1 unit. So in the if we press space key for the first time, it will so this one will be 5, so 5 minus 1 will be 4, so the max health will be 4. Okay, whenever we press this space key, it will subtract from our max health okay, by 1 unit. So let's suppose we call for the second time, so the max health is already 4, so 4 minus 1 will be 3, so the max health will be 3. Okay, so control s on your keyboard to save your code, and let's go to Unity. You're gonna able to see this max value over here will be 5, and we also need to set this value, okay, which is value, which is the current value. You can adjust it up over here. So just wait for to compile, and you're gonna able to see the changes. So if, if I now, as you can see, max health by default we set 5. If I hit this play button, okay, and you're gonna able to see this max value will be 5. Okay, in the start of the game we set the max value to our max health, and we know max health is 5, so this one will be 5. Okay, so if I scroll down, as you can see, max value becomes 5. Okay, because this one is 5. So if I try to press space key, as you can see, max health becomes 4. And if I try to press second time, as you can see, 3. And then if I try it, and it's stuck in the 0, because we're checking if the already 0, we are not subtracting anymore. We type return, basically after return mean its line of code will not be get called. But we also need to show that up over here, okay, over here in the value. So how we can do that? We need to get this value, which is the current value of health slider, and we can shrink it down like this. So we need to set the value of this value to our max health. Okay, so we also need to set that to max health. So let's go to script one more time by unplaying. Okay, let's go to update function, because update function runs every single frame and it will check. So what we will do over here, we will firstly go to health slider dot value, okay, value, and equal to, we will set to max health. Okay, max health, and close that off with semicolon, control s to save your code. Okay, so basically what we doing, we just moving over to this slider, this health slider, and then we are moving over to this value, and we setting this value to our max health, which is 5. So this one will also be 5. But when it's this max health becomes 4, this one will be 4, because we directly setting it. As you can see, health slider is equal to our max health, and we did in update function. And update function, we know it runs every single frame. Okay, so let's go to script one more time, and what we will do, if I hit this play button, you're gonna able to see this value will shrink down as the max health will go down. Okay, if this max health becomes 4, this one this value will also be 4, because we directly setting it. So health slider is equal to our max health, as you can see. So let's try to press the space key. As you can see, it goes down basically 4, and then if we try, as you can see, we loses all of our health. So I hope you get the idea how you can just create a health slider, and you can implement to any game you want. Okay, it's up to you. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial, and lastly, thanks for watching this video.